Good morning, students. Welcome to your social science class. So, students, we are doing this chapter, Civilizing the Native, Educating the Nation, right? Well, in our last class, we discussed about the condition of the local schools, or to be precise, what happened to the local schools after certain changes were introduced in the education system by the British or by the East India Company. We came to know that before the changes were introduced, the local schools were very much flexible, right? Those were known as pathshalas. There was no fixed fee, no fixed school building, no desks, no benches. Then the students were given a very flexible way of education. During the harvest period, the classes were not done, so that the children from the poor peasant families could also have their parents during the harvest season. Okay, so the system overall, it was very flexible. But the British later on introduced certain changes in the local schools, and then new rules were introduced, the new routines were introduced, right? And there were certain schools, local schools, who followed these rules and regulations, and those schools who followed these rules and regulations, they were given financial help by the British government. But then there were pathshalas or local schools where the guru was unwilling to accept those changes or accept those rules and regulations. In case of such local schools, the government did not give them any financial help. So under such a circumstance, the gurus of such pathshalas who were unwilling to adapt themselves to the change, they found it very difficult to compete with the local schools who were getting financial help. All right, so this was the thing that we discussed in our last class, the condition of the local schools before and after the changes were introduced by the British. All right, but students, do you think the Britishers, they were the only one to who were concerned about the education system in India, who were concerned about the education of the people of India? No, there were certain other people as well who were very much concerned about the education of Indian people. So today we will understand about the Indian perspective. Okay, so students, our today's topic is the agenda for a national education. Agenda means some kind of motive, okay, a purpose. So the agenda for a national education: English education has enslaved us. Okay, so this was the thinking in the mind of the Indian people. The Indian people believed that English education has enslaved us. Enslaved means English education will make the Indian people their slave. All right, so our topic is agenda for a national education. So accordingly, your learning outcome will be that after the end of today's class, you all will be able to highlight the point of view or the perspective of Mahatma Gandhi regarding the system of English education in India. What was his thinking? What was his point of view? Today you all will get to know that. Okay? Well, students, before the Britishers, they came to India from the early 19th century, there were many thinkers, there were many social reformers in India who were concerned about the education of the native Indian people. Okay, and then there were people who talked about the need for a wider spread of education. They realized the importance of education, and therefore they started spreading the awareness regarding the importance of education. Okay, and then gradually the Britishers came. They started bringing certain changes in the education system. So impressed with the developments which were taking place in Europe, some Indians, they even started appreciating the efforts which were made by the Britishers. They were admiring the efforts or the changes which were brought by the Britishers. Okay, they felt that Western education is useful as it would help modernize the people of India. It will develop a modern mindset in the mind of the Indian people. They were very appreciative of the efforts which were made by the British. Okay, therefore they requested the British to open up more schools, more colleges, more universities, and spend more money on the education system of India. Okay, But then students, not all Indians shared this viewpoint. Some of the Indians were totally against this new concept of education, this Western education. So Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore were two such individuals who strongly opposed Western education. They were clearly not in favor of Western education. According to Mahatma Gandhi, students, Western education or Western civilization, it will create a sense of inferiority in the mind of Indian people. Inferiority means the Indian people will consider themselves as less than the Britishers. Okay, it will develop in them, that means in the minds of Indian people, a sense of inferiority. The Indians will consider themselves below the Britishers. This was the point of view of Mahatma Gandhi regarding Western education. Okay. Also, according to him, it made the Indians perceive the Western culture as superior. The Indians will start believing that everything that comes from the West, it is better than everything that is related to our country. Okay, and if this happens, it will destroy the pride that the Indian people have in their own culture. So this was the view of Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, and the Indian people who are educated in this system, they will start admiring the British rule. They will start following the footsteps of the Britishers. So in this way, they will lose the touch with the Indian culture. So this is what was said by Mahatma Gandhi. So Mahatma Gandhi was completely against this Western education system. Mahatma Gandhi, he wanted an education system that is totally local, that is totally indigenous, connected with our roots, connected with our Indian roots. Okay, so he wanted an education system that could help the Indian people to realize their sense of dignity and self-respect, so that the Indian people will stick to their roots. Okay, he wanted the Indian people to admire their own culture, to admire their own heritage, right? So students, even during the national movements, that means the various movements which were held against the British, Mahatma Gandhi, he urged the students of that time to leave the Western educational institutions and join them in the movement. Okay, because he wanted the Indians to show to the British that Indians were no longer ready to be enslaved by the British. He wanted the Indians to show their power to the British, that they are no longer going to be under the control of the British. So Mahatma Gandhi requested the students to join the national movement and boycott the British or the English educational institutions. Mahatma Gandhi students, he strongly felt that Indian languages should be the medium of teaching, as opposed to the Western system of education, where English was considered as the medium of education. According to Mahatma Gandhi, our own languages, the local languages, should be the medium of teaching. All right. According to him, education which was given in English, it will destroy the life of the Indians. It will damage the Indians. It will make them crippled. Okay, and it will create a distance between the Indians and their own surrounding. Okay, and it will make them strangers in their own land. Indians will start appreciating everything that comes from the West, so they will not like their own country. They will not love the goods which are produced in their own country, right? So it will make them strangers in their own land. Speaking a foreign tongue, then despising or ignoring one's local culture, the English educated ones will never know how to relate to the masses. So this was the point of view which was shared by Mahatma Gandhi regarding Western or English education. He further went on to say that Western education, it only focused on reading and writing. Everything, all the knowledge that Western education gave us, it was based on just textbook. No real knowledge was given. Real knowledge means knowledge related to life experience, our own life experience, isn't it? So according to Mahatma Gandhi, English education was only textbook based. It was not based on our real life experiences. And according to Mahatma Gandhi, education should be something that will help us develop our mind and soul. But he believed that English education will never help us to develop our mind and soul. So for that, what we need is local education or Indian education. So here you can see Mahatma Gandhi along with his wife Kasturba Gandhi sitting with Rabindranath Tagore and a group of girls at Shantiniketan, probably telling them about the importance of Indian education or indigenous education. Okay. Literacy. So students, literacy means having the ability to read and write. When a person knows how to read and write, that person is considered as a literate person. Okay, but students, in real sense, literacy is not the real education that we want, isn't it? Education means to be able to solve real life situations, real life problems. Education means the ability to deal with different difficulties of life. That is true education, right? But literacy only teaches us how to read and write. So according to Mahatma Gandhi, English education will only develop literacy among the people of India, but it will not educate them in the true sense. Okay, he wanted the Indian people to be educated, not to be simply literate. Okay, so this was the viewpoint shared by Mahatma Gandhi. According to him, people should learn to work with their own hands. People should learn to work manually. People should develop certain skills. People should learn certain craft, art and craft. They should know how to operate or how to use different things. Okay, so this will help them to develop their mind and their capacity to understand. And he believed that only Indian education had the capacity to do that. So he was completely against Western education, because he said that Western education will only help in increasing the literacy, but it will not educate the Indian people in true sense. As a nationalist, the other thinkers, just like Mahatma Gandhi, they also began thinking of a system of national education. So there were several nationalists like Mahatma Gandhi who also shared the same viewpoint, and they began thinking of a system of national education which will be related to our own culture, which will be related to our own heritage, and which would be radically different from the one that was set up by the British. So Mahatma Gandhi, together with various other nationalists, they started movements for spreading or for promoting national education. So students, what is the meaning of nationalist? Nationalist means those people who have love for their nation, who are very much loyal to their nation. Okay, so those people who love their nation or who defends their country, they are known as nationalists. All right. So students, this was the viewpoint shared by Mahatma Gandhi regarding Western education. He was completely against Western education. According to him, Indian education will help the Indian people to develop their mind and soul, not Western education. All right. So these are some of the keywords of today's class. First one is inferiority. That means a sense of feeling that we are less as compared to others. When we start feeling that we are less or inferior to others, that very feeling is known as inferiority. Okay. The nationalist means the people who love their country, and those people who are very much loyal to their country, who have a patriotic feeling for their country. Okay. Radically means sometimes some changes can be brought in a very thorough manner. Okay, some complete changes, drastic changes can be brought. So for that we use the term radically. Crippled means to destroy or to damage something. And enslaved, to make someone your slave, that is known as enslave. All right. Well, these are your homework. According to Gandhiji, education in English crippled Indians. Do you agree with his viewpoints? Give reasons. So you need to write whether you agree with Mahatma Gandhi's viewpoint or not. Along with that, you need to give reasons also. All right. Then second question, Mahatma Gandhi strongly felt that Western languages ought to be the medium of instruction. Ought to be means it should be the medium of instruction. Correct the statement. Okay, you need to just correct the statement. And then students, after that you also need to do question number 2, 5 and 6 from your textbook. All right, and kindly submit in Google Classroom as usual between 8 to 9 p.m. All right, and please let me know if you have any doubts, and thank you so much. Have a nice day.